welcome to another episode of the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection show where we meet up and coming indie authors to talk to them about their recently released books. Hey everyone, it's Laurel with the Book Connection show Author Roundup series, and today I am joined by Archway Publishing author Colton Fidelman. Colton Fidelman is a high school senior and author of the new book, The Teenage Guide to Success. Colton interviewed successful entrepreneurs, athletes, and celebrities to create a formula to help teens overcome challenges and achieve their dreams. So to get started, I'll just have you tell us a little bit about your book and what kind of inspired you to write this book.
So my book is a kind of an 8-step guide to success. There's 8 different chapters in which I detail some of the core steps necessary for teens to take to find success in their lives. And then later on, it's the Teenage Guide to Success. And so I tether it to teenagers and I make it understandable for them.
Oh, okay. So how long did it kind of take you to complete your book?
Probably 2 years to write, but 4 years to get the interviews, because I interviewed a lot of people for the information that I wrote.
Okay. So would you say that was probably the most fun part, was getting to interview people for your book?
It was interesting to meet new people, yeah.
And then did you have any difficulties writing your book or anything that you didn't really care to do in the writing process?
It was definitely a lot of time, like taking up my summer and school.
Yeah.
And obviously the thinking and coming up with all the ideas, because you had to find, all the little nuances between what everybody was telling me, all my interviews, and find commonalities in between what they were saying, and then using that to find some type of rule or axiom that I could use to write a chapter about. Then, of course, there's the writing the chapter part, which, you have to talk about this and explain all the little in-depth parts of just one idea. And then for me, I did that 8 times. And so it was difficult in that it was a lot of thinking and took a lot of time.
Well, it seems like you were really dedicated to it. So that's really good.
Yes.
And hopefully that'll help this book become very successful. Have you had any feedback or reviews that have kind of stuck with you that you remember a lot about?
There was one review where I thought it wasn't as positive, but it definitely provided a lot of good insight for me to take from in the future. They said the book, they compared the book to a dinosaur. They said it was really old, that teens wouldn't be very interested in it, which I understand. A lot of teenagers now look to social media for things like that. But I caution most teenagers and I say, social media can be very addictive. And if you're relying on social media to find your success advice, I mean, there's a lot of good people on YouTube who can help you. But I would say you'd learn a lot from, garnering up the discipline to sit down and read a book for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And that's just the first step, learning discipline.
Well, that's awesome. That's kind of different for your generation to say that, but that's really cool that you kind of recognize that.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give somebody that's writing their first book right now?
Even if it's just an idea, eventually, if you keep on getting at it, it's going to show up at your front door like it did mine. And you'll be like, wow, this is actually real. That's the best advice I could give. Keep going.
Okay. Do you have any personal or professional goals for your book this year?
New York Times bestseller would be interesting. Obviously, it's very far down the line, but continuing to get awards and be on media to talk about it, to help people, spreading the word, as one would say, would be the biggest goal. Making sure that people are getting the information that I put inside of it.
Awesome. So do you have any other final messages or remarks you would like to share with our audience today?
I'm really happy that I'm able to sit here and talk to people about my book, about my idea, because it came from something very small. Me sitting on my bed, thinking about, what can I do because I was very motivated at that time. What can I do for the next 4 or 5 years that will lead to success later on and just a positive outlook for my life? It's very good that I ended up completing this goal, because I definitely would say, 4 years of grit and hard work, as well as faith, not knowing if the person you're cold emailing to interview is going to respond, but doing it anyways. As well as, you know, I don't know if a publisher is going to pick me up, right? Like it's all these things where you don't know that you're not certain that they're going to happen, but doing it anyways and being confident enough in yourself to get it done is probably, in terms of lessons, the biggest lesson I've taken away from this book and writing it. So final thoughts. I'm proud of what it's become.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much
you.
for sharing those final thoughts. I just wanted to let everybody know that you can get Cole's book on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and ArchwayPublishing.com. And that should be it for us today, Cole. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.